Hey, welcome back to Caribbean Garden Life. Janice here. Now, have you ever wondered how you always seem to make or create projects in the garden? Yeah, it looks like I just look at the garden and I see another project, and today is no exception. Hey, now, my goal this year is to get better at growing corn, or this season. I've tried it a couple of times and had minimal success, but I have a neighbour who I have corn envy. I walk past his garden a couple of times a week and he has the most beautiful corn. I've tasted it because he gave me some, and he's also given me some seeds, so some corn seeds. So my plan is to find the ideal spot in the garden to grow corn. It needs a lot of sun, and that happens to be the front of my garden. And I have found a patch that was previously a border that I am going to, let's say, take back for the sake of gardening. Now, as I said, the spot was previously a decorative border, so it's full of rocks very much like this, and there are still some rocks in the ground. So my plan is to sift out as much of the dirt as I can to reuse it, because dirt is a premium here, or soil, even though if it's not in bad condition. So I'm going to condition it with some compost and all that good stuff. Laid out my tarp, so it's going to go on here and be covered over while I sift out the rocks to use in the path or other part of the garden, and reuse the soil once I've laid down the cardboard. This is the border. I have cleared it of all the rocks. You can see Lulu has managed to find her way in there. So I have fenced it off to avoid the dogs going there, but I have to do some more work. Now, what I've also noticed is that the ground itself, or the soil, isn't very good, and I have a lot of grass weeds growing up in it. And so I am going to I've decided to make it a much bigger project. Lulu, come on, out of there. Come on, out of there. Out, come on. So I have decided to make a much bigger project, and I'm going to be covering it with cardboard. It is probably the ideal time for us to do that. I say the ideal time because we've now got all our Christmas orders coming in, so we're going to have a lot of cardboard. And as much as I use a lot of the cardboard in the compost heap, I'm going to use it to line this bed. It's a little bit of a bigger project than I anticipated. It's going to take a little longer than I wanted to, but I think it's a case of more haste, less speed. So let's prep the bed right from the beginning. Then I'll have less work in the future and a better condition of soil in the future. So that's going to be my project for the next few weeks. And you're going to come along with me. So as predicted, we had plenty of cardboard boxes, definitely sufficient enough to make the layer that I want, the base layer that I wanted. So it's all laid down, and we're giving it really good soaking before we put the soil or the next layer on top. So happy days for that. So it took me a few days to get to it, but I finally finished preparing what will be our new corn beds, that's the nickname for it. As you can see, I've put a mulch path in between the middle of the rows that I'm going to be planting the corn in. The weeds out here, or the grass out here, is pretty voracious, so I've got to make sure there's plenty of weeding. But I've put a layer of compost down. We're going to wet it, and we're going to plant out the corn. Unfortunately, I have to travel, so it'll be up to the husband to look after the corn seedlings once we've put them in. But I'm really pleased with how this is looking and how this is going, and how we're utilising some additional space in the front of the garden, the front of the house, to expand our food production. So these are my seedlings ready to plant. It's only been a few days, but as you can see, the root system is pretty well developed, so I'm quietly optimistic. Even though we've had some rain over the past few weeks, I did notice that the patch was particularly dry. So I wanted to give it a good watering before I put the seedling in, to make sure that the roots have a really good chance to develop without being too much shock or transplant shock as they go in. So giving it a good water was the first thing. That was then followed by, obviously, the tray of seedlings. Now, I spaced each seedling approximately 6 inches apart, so they would have plenty of room to grow, but also be close enough to pollinate each other. As you know, corn is pollinated by the wind, so I didn't want the seedlings to be too far apart once they become fully developed, but also to have enough room to grow, but also be able to pollinate themselves with a little bit of wind as and when needed. So that's it. All the seedlings have been planted out. All that remains will be to give them another good watering to make sure the roots get the opportunity to settle themselves in the soil where they've been planted. Now, unfortunately, I have to travel while the corn is going through its growth process, but my husband will be on hand to keep an eye on everything, make sure everything's watered. I will be giving guidance wherever possible via video. We'll be chatting every day and keeping a chat on my little corn babies to make sure they have the best opportunity to develop into healthy, strong corn. I've obviously seen what they can develop into. My neighbour grows this very regularly, so I am really looking forward to a great corn harvest in a few months. So let me know what you're growing in your garden, or any ideas, any tips you have to share as to how to improve your corn yield. I would love to hear more about it. And don't forget, you can just subscribe to the Caribbean Garden Life channel to make sure you don't miss out on any videos, and you can hear about the updates on the corn when I get back. Take care and happy gardening.